Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning out here on the West Coast. We want to thank you for joining us for the next 30, 40 minutes or so on our presentation today, Building the Practice That Every Advisor Would Like to Have. Pretty compelling topic. I'm sure that's why everybody's on here to find out what these guys are talking about. So we do appreciate the investment of your time. We also encourage questions. We want really to make this a dialogue and a discussion. So as you have questions throughout this conversation, just raise your hand. We can unmute you and you can ask your question, or if you would prefer, you can type your question into the chat box and we will see it, and we'll make every effort to answer these questions during the course of this presentation. We're pleased to have with us today Alex Sonkin. Alex is an elite advisor here in Carlsbad, California, who, after meeting Anthony Lombardi several years ago, built a practice around working with only a handful of clients, each of which generates upwards of 6 figures annually per client relationship in annual revenue. So it's definitely a model that most advisors are not doing, and that's probably why we're all on this call together. So Alex, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. Let's make sure the technology's working. I think the video here is working, and you guys can all hear us. Appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. Hey, Alex, I touched a little bit upon just now what your practice looks like, and it generally is not the type of practice that most advisors have. But your practice didn't always look this way. Can you share with us just in a couple minutes what you used to do, and then we'll get into what you're doing now and how and why. But what did you used to do?
Well, first of all, I'm humbled that I'm speaking to all of you and you're asking me some questions about my practice. I'm sure everyone who's on this call, on this webinar today, is working extremely hard, and I have tremendous respect for every one of you. And I used to be just like you. I used to do a lot of dinner workshops, which cost a lot of money. It costs about $75,000 to $100,000 a year to feed a lot of wealthy people and to mail them invitations, and then I had to invest a lot of time in the follow-up of that, which I thought was a necessary evil to the job. And it was hard work because, I was making a lot of money, but, in order to close how many cases a year, my closing ratio ranged from 20% at the high, maybe down to under 10% at the low, which means I'm dealing with 80 to 90% brain damage from the nose, from, like punches, kicks in the stomach, which I think every advisor can relate to the difficulty and the ability to overcome that. And we all do that.
Sure, that's pretty typical.
And, I would have kept doing that until I met Anthony Lombardi, who, when I asked him what he does for a living, and he says, my clients are all CPA firms, essentially. And I'm thinking, what does that even mean, to have a client be a CPA firm? Because in my world, CPAs are deal killers. They're the ones who bring that massive pain, because I would meet these affluent business owners. They would come to my dinner workshops, and I would show them a plan. They'd look at the plan. They'd say, this is an amazing plan. I have to run it by my guy. Who's your guy? It's my CPA. Okay, great. Let's meet. I'd love to meet with your CPA because I'm sure he's got other clients just like you. And man, you could probably really use my amazing ideas, because my ideas are so amazing, and he doesn't have those ideas, and his clients need them. So what could go wrong there? My goodness, nothing went right. I had 0 batting percentage in those situations. I never got any business from any CPA. So if you guys are getting business from CPAs, you are way ahead of where I was 7, 8 years ago. But Anthony Lombardi changed my life, completely changed the way I do business, changed the way I had no idea, but as a result, a lot of things would change for me personally, with my family, all good things.
So it sounds like what you just described is pretty much a typical advisor. They don't generally have a lot of success working with CPAs. A lot of them try and have limited success at best. And it sounds like that's where you were. Had a successful practice, making good money. But you met Anthony, and so what's different now? What does your business look like now?
Well, I just want to make a point here. That is not a typical advisor. The kind of money I was making, and the kind of money I think a lot of these advisors on this webinar are making, that's top 2, top 3% of advisors in the country. So to make that kind of money, you have to do a lot of things right. But it's still, compared to what I'm doing now, it's night and day. So I don't chase end users around. My closing ratio is not 10 or 20%. It is way above 70, maybe above 80%. I have a handful, let's say around 10 CPA clients that I work with. These CPAs are introducing me to other CPAs, and they're like last week, one of my CPA firms in Los Angeles said, hey, I want you to come up for lunch. I want to introduce you to my tax partners. They need to hear how we work together. And these are sophisticated CPAs who've been in the business 30 years. And here I am sitting down with them basically saying, by the way, you're not delivering, this is why you're not delivering world-class value to your very best clients. In fact, your business model is broken. This is how we're working together with your partner, and this is how it's better. We're reducing risk, we're reducing all these other inefficiencies, and we're actually able to access the very best ideas in the country and bring them to your best clients without third-party referral risk. And one of the things that Anthony's really taught me is how CPAs hate referring their biggest clients out, and why. And we don't take referrals. We teach CPAs not to refer their clients to us, and yet we work with those CPAs and their very best clients, and it's not a referral, it's something different. It's a unique structure that Anthony Lombardi has taught, and CPAs absolutely love it.
So how have you been able to develop relationships with these 10 CPA firms that are your clients when, again, most advisors struggle to develop any kind of a relationship? What makes you different?
Well, it's even better than that. There was a point in time where I had over 40 CPA firms that I was working with, and I realized I just don't have time for 40 CPA firms, and so I had to whittle it down. Mm-hmm. And now, this year I just picked up 4 or 5 new CPA firms from around the country who are flying in to see me next week for a 3-day event that we're putting on. And that means that I'm only maybe working on 1 or 2 or 3 cases a year per CPA, and so if a CPA doesn't have a very exciting year that year, or they don't pick up new clients, great, I may have lunch with them a couple times, but I'm investing my time in the biggest, most profitable situations from CPA firms I'm managing. So kind of this is what some of the concepts that Anthony Lombardi showed me. I don't know if you guys could see this, but basically the idea here is that this is the traditional CPA model. The CPA is stretched. On one side, you have his clients, B and C clients, needing and begging and pulling him in one direction, putting a lot of stress on that CPA. On the other side, you have these CPA relationships, these CPA resources that they have, and this CPA now has to manage all these different pieces, and they don't have time to invest with their children, with their family, with their spouses, in their community and their faith, things most important to them, and they're stressed out. So, we've been interviewed by the AICPA, and 2013, the AICPA came out with this idea, this model. They're saying the CPA can't just do tax returns. The CPA needs to become the most trusted business advisor. They need to have these resources. They need to go out and network and develop relationships with the best people in, business valuations, retirement planning, insurance, non-qualified, qualified planning, ESOPs, every kind of resource that business owners need. The CPA needs to be the quarterback of all these resources. And the CPAs are going, wait a minute, I don't even have time to get these tax returns out the door. I'm working 80, 90 hours a week during tax season. I don't have time to see my children. And you're telling me I need to go to networking meetings and develop more relationships and bring more value to the table, and their lives are just, meanwhile their lives are falling apart. So we come in and we're going, well, this is a great idea, AICPA, but how is this even possible? And so what Anthony Lombardi has taught me, and what he's been doing for the last 19 years, is essentially showing CPAs and implementing this model, which CPA firms absolutely love. And Anthony Lombardi Bootcamp system basically allows advisors to plug into and allows CPA firms to plug into just this organic system. And the way it works is, if you can see it on your screen, the CPA manages his most important client relationships, and they focus on delivering value to their biggest clients and monetizing those relationships, generating a lot more revenue from less relationships, and that's how we help the CPA to create time. And what they do is they plug in, they develop a relationship with me, and in this picture, the PCA stands for Perfect Client Advisor. So I am that perfect client advisor. I have CPA relationships, and what I do is for the last 18, 19 years, Anthony Lombardi's been vetting this network of specialists, and I've been doing this for the last 8 years. And so, I'm intimately familiar with this network of specialists. I have a relationship with this whole network, and I'm able to work with a group that's part of the system that analyzes complicated information from the CPAs, from each of their clients. We then bring these specialists into the fold, bring them in on webinars, on conference calls, and live educational settings where we educate these CPAs on all these different affluent solutions that are out there, and we introduce the CPA essentially to the very, very best team of specialists in the country, the kind of specialists, the kind of tax attorneys and resources that billionaires use, people worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars have access to these resources. We now have brought this network of specialists to the table and help CPAs access this network without having to refer their clients to them or to myself through a proprietary process. And now my CPAs essentially have access to concepts and ideas and strategies that the biggest, most successful CPA firms all around the country simply do not have access to, which I know to advisors, if this was me 8, 9 years ago, I'd be like, you got to be kidding me. The biggest CPA firm in my town must know everything, right? Well, think of it this way. When you go to the doctor, or let's say not you, but let's say someone you know is really, really sick, okay? And they go to the best doctor in town, the best number one doctor in New York, Los Angeles, the most affluent areas in the country. And they're really, really, really sick. They have some disease. And guess what? That doctor probably doesn't know what that disease is. He's looking at the patient like, I tell you're sick, you look like you're going to die, but I have no idea what's wrong with you, and I'm not even sure if you're going to die. So what are we going to do? I'm going to send you to a radiology department, and they're going to take x-rays, they're going to take MRI, they're going to read it, and hopefully I've got the best radiologist in the country, or one of them. They're going to read these images, and what are they going to do next? They're going to bring in who? They're going to bring in the best specialists in the country, maybe the best specialists in the world in that area, and they're going to fix the problem, and hopefully you'll walk out of here and your disease will be gone. And guess what? That original general practitioner gets the credit for putting their client through this system, right? So now imagine there's a business owner, and this business owner is in the process of selling one of his companies for whatever, $1 million, $50 million, $500 million. The numbers are sometimes get crazy. And the CPA goes, okay, well, what could we do? Now, the tax code's over 80,000 pages long, and it's constantly changing. Do you think the best CPA in your town knows the whole tax code backwards and forwards? Do you think the CPA in your town knows the very best tax attorneys in the country, that knows the very best specialists in the country, knows how to solve this tax problem in the best possible way? I thought 8 years ago that they did. But having worked with hundreds of CPAs, I speak to hundreds and hundreds of CPAs every year. I probably had this conversation with thousands of CPAs because I provide CPE credits to thousands of CPAs over web-based educational forums. And I'm telling you that 90% of the things that our specialists are teaching our CPAs, most CPAs in your town have never been exposed to. And so their biggest business owners, their affluent families, are paying taxes. And I'm talking about CPA firms like McGladrey. I'm talking about the biggest CPA firms in this country do not have access to the very best ideas that our network of CPAs have access to. And therefore, over 90% of business owners are overpaying their taxes. They don't have access to 3, 4, 5, 6 different strategies that they could have used to mitigate their taxes legally. And that's what's going on. And so we come in and we sit down with CPA firms. We go, by the way, this is what's going on. This is why your clients aren't getting access to it, because you have too many clients. You have B and C clients that are wasting your time. You don't have access to these ideas. You've never met them before. And if you've met these resources before, are you really going to refer your biggest clients out to a third-party attorney that you don't know? Of course not. Why would would you do that? Would a financial advisor refer your biggest client out to an attorney you don't really know very well? Of course not. And so the best ideas in the country aren't getting into the hands of affluent business owners because people are scared of referring. And the ones that are being referred out, like if you're an advisor and you're getting referrals from CPAs, you're basically getting, they're clients that they're not afraid to lose. They're B and C clients, and you might sell them insurance and investments and manage their money and all that fun stuff. And you think you're doing great, and you are, but you're not getting access to their biggest clients because no CPA wants to risk those relationships for anything. But those are the kind of situations we look at, because guess what? The CPA is not referring this client to me or to my team of specialists because we tell them not to. What we're doing with the CPA is we're taking information, putting that information through the system, and then delivering the solution through the CPA, where the CPA gets the credit, the CPA manages the relationship with this client, and all the work is done behind the scenes, and myself and the team of specialists included, we simply look like the radiology department and a team of specialists that supports the general practitioner, which is the CPA. So hopefully that made sense. That's the analogy.
Yeah, Alex, that's great. And you addressed one of the big challenges and risks in the CPA model, which is the referral risk. And we all know, because everybody on this call probably has tried to get referrals from CPAs and gotten nowhere. And you've just told them why. So that's extremely valuable. One of the other risks that CPAs have, and you've learned this, and the advisors that we work with around the country have learned this from Anthony Lombardi because he's invested 19 years understanding the CPA model and mindset. Another big risk is client retention risk.
Yeah.
The CPA's biggest and best clients are always in play, and they know that.
Yeah.
How do you come in and, again, not sound like the typical financial advisor who says, let me get around you and get to your best client and sell them something? How do you share with the CPA that I can actually help you solve your client retention risk?
Yeah, I mean, the reason clients are leaving, okay, here's the real opportunity here. The biggest, most affluent clients, and I'm not going to say all of them, right now about a third of the most affluent business owner clients of CPA firms are leaving or are looking for better CPA relationships for a number of reasons. Number one, their CPA don't have time for them because they're too busy working on B and C clients, because CPAs think that having more clients means more money, and it really doesn't. Having more clients to a CPA firm simply means they have less time for what's most important, and at some point all they're doing is trading their time for money, and time is the most important commodity. For instance, we're never going to get the last 15 minutes of our life back. So you've made this 15-minute investment here. Hopefully you're going to get a return on that 15-minute investment. But what's going on is CPAs are not, because they don't have time to learn new ideas. They don't have time to find the best resource in the country. And so their biggest business owners are paying way more in tax than they should be. And they're looking out into the world and they're saying, wait a minute, ExxonMobil's not paying any tax. Apple Computer's not paying any tax. GE is making billions of dollars of profits. They're not paying any tax. Warren Buffett had a tax problem, bought a company in Canada, did an inversion. He's not paying any tax. When I say not paying any tax, maybe they're taxable. They're paying 1% or 2% of their net income in taxes, whereas the average business owner maybe is paying 18 to 25% of their net income in taxes. And so this guy making $1 million or $5 million paying 20% of his net income in taxes, going, wait, why am I paying 20 or 25% when all these multi-billionaires are paying 1%? Maybe I have a bad CPA. Now, I'm not going to agree with him. I'm not saying that he has a bad CPA. I'm saying his CPA has a really bad network. His CPA does not have access to the best ideas in the country, and he's just kind of cruising along, waiting to retire or waiting to sell his practice to another CPA who wants that kind of brain damage of dealing with so many small B and C clients, which they don't. And so there's this massive inefficiency. Now, again, referrals. If a CPA meets the smartest advisors, the smartest attorneys in the country, and doesn't take the time to develop a relationship with them, even if he does develop a relationship with them, does he know how to work with them so that when he refers the client to them, that the guy's not going to steal the client, the guy's not going to introduce him to another CPA, or when the guy does the work and solves the problem, who is the client bragging about at the country clubs? They're not bragging about their CPA, they're bragging about the attorney who fixed the problem. And so the CPA took the risk, made the referral, he gets no upside out of that. He gets status quo. Meanwhile, he took a massive risk because he could have lost the relationship. So CPAs don't like that. They don't like that risk-reward relationship. And so in our model, they don't have that. In our model, they never relinquish control of their client. They never relinquish that relationship to any third party. They maintain that, so there's no risk. But now in our model, working with me, they have to like me because they spend a lot of time with me, so that's the risk, is they may not like me, and if they don't like me, if I don't like them, it's not going to happen. But if we like each other, they're going to now, through me, have access to the very best and brightest network of specialists in the country that they can access, and they can deliver value to their biggest clients through, and they get the credit. And then they get to monetize that because now their clients see them as a one point of contact. Instead of making 7 phone calls to their attorney, to their advisor, to their CFO, to their partner calls his CPA, the CFO, their spouse, and have 17 different answers. Guess what? Do you think affluent business owners know how to analyze answers that come from attorneys and CPAs and advisors and figure out which is the best one? No, they don't. They have no clue how to do that. You know why? They're not financial professionals. They know how to make and sell widgets. They're really good at that. But analyzing CRUTs and CLATs and CRTs and non-qualified and qualified planning and all this stuff, I mean, they don't even know how an IRA works. They have no clue. Some of these people don't know the basic concepts in planning. They have no clue because it's complicated stuff. Well, the bigger their tax problem, the more complicated the solutions are, and at that point they're lost. So what they want is they want one point of contact who has access to like Google. You have a question, go on Google. You're going to hopefully access this universe of potential answers, and you still have to figure it out. Here, it's imagine having Google and then having a really bright team of specialists going, here's all the possibilities on Google, and here's the 5 best choices, and we recommend these 2. Let's talk about which one of these 2 complex solutions is going to work better for you. Now, to a business owner who doesn't have time, who can't create time, who knows how to make money, but he doesn't have time to spend with his family either, what do you think is more valuable? Calling 7 different people or calling one point of reference that has access to the most vibrant, amazing team of specialists in the country that work together as a team to deliver amazing solutions? Obviously, they want the one that saves them time. Time is the most valuable resource that CPAs and affluent business owners have. And so, yeah, more money is great, but more money should be designed to create more time.
Alex, that's a great point because people often overlook that. They think the revenue is the key determinant in why why a CPA would work with an advisor. And as you just said, time. They are so crunched for time. So what I'm hearing is your practice, you're doing much more with much less. You know, just as Anthony Lombardi, and there's some article, a Think Advisor article, where it says advisor goes from 800 clients to a handful and makes more money. That's really what he taught you to do. So you're making more money with fewer clients. That's the behavior that you're really modeling for the CPA. You're showing the CPA that if you really take care of your best and do more for them, they're the only ones you'll need to work with. So you as well don't need 500-600 clients, just as I've made the decision as advisor not to have that many. So really what you've captured is time. not only for yourself, but for the CPA. And I think a lot of people overlook the importance of that. Just as an example, what does your week look like this week? I mean, you've built a practice designed to create time for what's most important.
You know,
in
the
your life.
reality, Scott, is if I didn't have to sit here and share this story with you guys, I had a sleepover at my house last night with my kids had some friends sleep over. You know, I'm coaching my son, my 10-year-old's flag football team. We took second in the state of California in the third, fourth grade. I'm very proud of that.
Uh-oh, here it goes.
By the way, this is very proud of this right here. If you guys can see this, Friday Night Lights, third, fourth grade finalists. See, in California, they don't say second place.
Yeah.
They say finalists because we don't acknowledge losing. But we did lose the finals by 6 points. You know, I would have never done that. I would have never taken time from my busy schedule of following up and chasing end users around and begging them to close deals. Now I coach basketball, coach flag football. I don't know how many hours I've been in the office this week, but I try to work not more than 3 hours. 3 hours a day is a lot of work for me. My time really is taking CPAs to lunch. By the way, there's no marketing. Like, there's no more $7,500,000 of expenses on marketing. That goes away. It's meeting CPA firms, having lunch with them. 50% of the CPAs I sit down with are blown away by what we're talking about. Blown away. They even if I give the presentation wrong, the uniqueness of what we do is so attractive to them. Wait a minute, I can have access to the best specialists in the country through you and not have to refer my clients to them and get their ideas and deliver my. Guess what? What CPA in your town does not want to have access to the best attorneys and best specialists and best resources in the country? Who would say, no, no, I just want to work with my brother-in-law because he's really smart. He went to blah, blah, blah state college and he took this accounting course. So I'm good. I'm good, Alex. We're good. Really, why don't you put that on your website? Be like, you know, we're not even average. We're like way below average. We're like in the 99th percentile of CPA firms. We will give you way below average ideas. No, the reality is this. This is a complex world. There's so much information out there, and what affluent business owners want is they don't want more information. They want librarians. They want people who know how to sift through this infinite block of information that we have access to on the internet and customize and build them leading solutions. And they want to trust that, and they want to focus on their business. They want to focus on their family. Certainly, these affluent business owners are not interested in sitting down with financial advisors. Okay, let's just be honest. We as financial advisors, we're attractive to who? We're attractive to retired people who need their money to make them money, right? Or else they're not going to survive. W-2 employees, but affluent business owners who are making millions of dollars a year, let's just put it that way, or tens of millions or hundreds of millions, or with net incomes of high 6 figures, 7, 8 figures. They're not interested in sitting down with financial advisors. Why would they need to sit down with financial? They already know how to make money. But what they need to do is they need to protect their business, they need to invest time with their family, and they need their CPA to do his job or her job. And they need the CPA to have an amazing network of specialists behind them. And that CPA doesn't have that. And so the opportunity here is that advisors who don't want to keep slamming their heads against the wall can figure it out. If you want to work with affluent business owners like I am, I mean, I'm working on situations, guys selling over $100 million worth of stock with no basis. We're going to help that guy mitigate, 99% of his tax through, we have 5, 6 different strategies to do that. Those CPAs don't have access to that. And so we're seeing unbelievable opportunities from all around the country, and we just can't handle even 1% of what's out there. So that's why I'm so encouraged to share what we're doing, to share how Anthony Lombardi has changed my life. Obviously, you have Accounting Web talking about this idea. You're seeing it here. We have Think Advisor talking about, hey, 5 clients are better than 500. Why are 5 clients better than 500? Time, so that you can work an hour, 2 hours a day and invest the rest of the time in your community and your family and make a lot more money and access a pool of clients that no advisor has access to. The only people who have access to these affluent business owners are their CPAs and attorneys. And we come in and we are invisible behind the scenes, and we're the ones who, so look, here I am, my name is Alex Sonkin, and I am in Accounting Today, and I'm in Accounting Today twice. There's 2 articles in Accounting Today, which is like a very unique publication for CPAs that no financial advisors get in this magazine, none. But I'm in there, Anthony Lombardi's in there, and why am I in there? I'm not smarter than other advisors. I just was trained by Anthony Lombardi, and I figured out what he's teaching, and I just implemented it, and all of a sudden now I'm very valuable to CPAs, whereas 8 years ago I was a risk. I was a problem. I was a salesperson that they didn't want to introduce to their clients. So this is something that has captured the country from law firms, from CPA firms, from advisory firms that are seeing this model and understanding this model. It's a complete game changer. Think Advisor, again, talking about Anthony Lombardi, who is changing lives of advisors around the country, including mine. This is Accounting Web, another article about, you can Google all this stuff. And here's another Accounting Today article talking about Anthony Lombardi, how he works with CPA firms.
Alex, so that's great. I mean, obviously you've undergone a transformation in your practice and in your personal life, it sounds like, because of your relationship with Anthony. For the advisors on this call, I mean, who can do this? Can any advisor do this? What kind of skill set do you have to make this transformation?
Look, I think being a financial advisor is hard.
It is.
I think asking someone to move money from point A to point B and having them trust you, what can go wrong with that? That's hard. So what financial advisors are doing now is really impressive to me. It's very hard because advisors are competing with over 1 million other advisors doing the same thing. There's an advisor who just got his license who's going out in your community telling people, hey, we've got the best asset management systems in the world. We've got the best market predictability in the world. We've got the best insurance people in the world. The guy just got his license yesterday, and he's telling the same story as you are. And so that's hard to compete with that. And so I don't have any competition. Nobody else can come on. Nobody else can be me. Nobody else can develop a relationship the way I can. And what we're really talking about is building trusted relationships, which is a lost art. Mm-hmm. But the relationships that I'm building are based on trust and value. And the value that I'm bringing in using the Lombardi system, no one else, I mean, outside of the people that Lombardi is teaching, no one else even has a clue that it's even out there. They're just going out with they got blinders on. They're going, I got to sell financial products. I got to sell insurance. They're missing the opportunity. The opportunity is that they can really help these CPAs stop losing their biggest clients and bring in the clients that are leaving their competitors, which is what I do. I sit down with CPAs and go, by the way, your competitors are about to lose all these clients because your competitors don't have access to me, they don't have access to these ideas, and their clients are not happy, they're leaving. If you just simply position yourself and say, hey, I help business owners reduce their taxes by 50% from what their previous CPA could do. Do you think business owners are interested in that? No, I'm good. Last year I paid $1.5 million. This year I want to pay $1.7 million in tax. I really love sending millions of dollars to the government, and if you help me save 50% of that, no, I don't want that, because what am I going to do with all that extra money? I love work. I love not seeing my family. I love building this amazing business, and I certainly love giving half of everything I make to the government, or whatever, 25%. Of course, they want their CPA to be proactive and bring them ideas. And guess what? CPAs can't do it because they're busy dealing with their B and C clients, and they need to get another B and C client. Meanwhile, they're missing the opportunity, and it's very painful to them because they don't like losing their biggest clients. And financial advisors aren't doing anything to help CPAs with this big problem, and I am. And so I'm not a financial advisor anymore. Mm-hmm. I am someone who cares and loves really affluent CPA firms or CPAs who are working in those firms, and I'm there to help them create a better life for themselves and teach their business owners how to create a better life for themselves. Because guess what? We're all dealing with the same problem, this virus called success, where we want more success, but we're sacrificing our families, our faith, our giving back to our communities to make more money. And guess what? We're not happier, and we don't have time. And so those are huge issues in the lives of CPAs. Those are huge issues in the lives of affluent business owners. And who is solving those problems? I am. Anthony Lombardi is. And the other advisors that are going through this Lombardi boot camp and the Lombardi coaching system are uniquely positioned to operate without any competition. And the residual of that is I get to work with the biggest affluent business owner tax problem situations in the country that I want to invest my time in.
That's perfect. So in the interest of time, and then we'll open it up to questions. Alex, it sounds like you're doing a number of things differently from most financial advisors. You've been able to develop profitable, lasting relationships with CPAs, which is hard. You're working only in affluent situations. You had mentioned earlier that, you work on maybe 2, 3, 4 cases per year with your CPA relationships. So those are obviously larger, more complex, frankly, more interesting opportunities and situations to work on that pay you better. So that's great. Your average revenue per client is north of 6 figures, which is unheard of. I mean, we've done the numbers. Anthony Lombardi has done the numbers, and he goes through this at the boot camp, where he says, the average revenue per client of the typical advisor, on the high end is 5 to 10,000 a year, and your client relationships are generating north of 6 figures. I mean, that's unheard of.
Well, we have, I have a CPA. My first case with him was compensation of north of $900,000 on one business owner from one CPA. So that CPA relationship is worth millions of dollars to me over the lifetime of that relationship. So that's one client.
Right.
One client is a CPA, and if I do 2, 3 cases a year with that client, depending, it could average anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million
Per case.
Per year. Let's just say
per relationship.
Per relationship, because we're not every case is $900,000 compensation. Some are $250,000, some are $150,000, some are $600,000.
Right.
And that's a nice CPA, but and then a smaller CPA, the small cases may be 50 is on the very, very low end. Typical is 150, 250, 300.
So again, that gets back to one of the critical things that you talked about. If you're only working with a handful of clients and you're only working on a handful of situations per client, that creates the time that, as you said, is so important. When you're in the office 10 to 15 hours a week, maybe, how valuable is that?
When the compensation per client is small, and all of a sudden our expenses to operate our lives are big, and you have to spend the money on marketing, and you have to do all this stuff, you have to chase end users around, and that means you have to give up your time and your quality of life to make whatever the $250,000 or $500,000 a year that you want to make. If you can make that $500,000 in a few months, in 3 months, and now you have 9 months of time. Well, you might say, hey, I'll dedicate another 2-3 months and then make $1 million. And now I have 6 months. Or I may say, hey, I'm going to dedicate 9 months and make $2 million or $3 million. And then I have 3 months. I don't have to work.
Right.
And I can really invest that into my family. To me, what I did, because what Anthony Lombardi is really teaching is building your relationship portfolio, is what I like to look at. It's like, okay, are you rich? Tell me about your relationships. If you want to ask me, are you rich? Well, I'm rich if I have a great relationship with my 4 children. I'm rich if I have a great relationship with my wife. I'm rich if I'm using this model to develop rich human relationships with CPAs who are human beings, and we talk about sports and we talk about things that are most important to them. And all of a sudden, when you realize what makes us rich is the quality of our relationships. And so I thought about that, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to have a relationship with my children and my wife hopefully for the rest of my life. why am I chasing end users around where I'm going to just do one transaction and never see them again or whatever? Whereas I want to invest that in my kids, because I'm going to see hopefully I'm going to see these kids when I'm 75 years old, and they're going to be there, and I want those relationships to be rich. So Anthony Lombardi's really changed the way I am at home, because I'm investing in those relationships at home in a way that I didn't before. Because before I was like, wait a minute, I need to save my energy to build my business, to make more money, to bring that money home, and that's what's going to make a successful family, and it doesn't. It doesn't work.
This is so much more than, probably people get on this call thinking, okay, great, I'm going to learn a few things about working with CPAs. And as you shared with us, Alex, it's so much more than that. It changes your life. So for advisors that are on this call, who said, wow, I want that. I want what Alex has. How do they get involved? What would you suggest the next step be?
Look, I would get in touch with Jeff Perry. You see his phone number on the screen. 760-330-3115, Jeff J. Perry at LombardiBootcamp.com. Basically, Anthony has put together these boot camps. They are very, very efficient, 2.5 days. You get exposed to the whole system. You get to see it. You get to really almost try it on for size to see if this is something that you want to do, and make a humongous impact in your community. And look, if these concepts aren't for you, if you don't want to work with affluent business owners, if you love chasing end users around and selling, I get it. It's fun. But what we do now is more fun. I love getting in front of very, very affluent CPAs. Love getting in front of their clients, because at the end of the day, when they introduce me to one of their big clients, it's really fun to come in and say, by the way, you were going to pay this much in tax. Now you're going to pay half of that or less. We're going to take a portion of your tax savings and put it to work and help you, put that to work in investments and life insurance and do all these fun things. And then that money's going to grow and continue to grow. And meanwhile, we're doing this just from money that was going to be sent to the government. And by the way, my name is Alex Sonkin, and I am a point person for this network of specialists, and I'm just here supporting your CPA. That's a nice way to be introduced. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? Anyone could come in and say, hey, let me take a few $1 million of your money and go put it to work and make more money with it. There's millions of advisors that can do that. But how many advisors can come in and say, by the way, you were going to pay $3 million in tax. Now you're going to pay 1.5. Over the next 5 years, we're going to take $7.5 million and put it to work and help you double that money every 8 to 10 years. That's different. Why? Because we're creating money for the business owner that was otherwise lost in taxes. That's exciting. We can't do that. I can't do this work without the CPA relationship. I certainly can't do this work without my resources. But if I don't have the CPA relationship and all I have is these specialists, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The answer is not the artillery. The answer is not the solution. The solution is you.
Solution is
the advisor becomes the solution. And you said it earlier. The CPA, the one thing they want is someone that they can trust most. And you're that guy. You have made yourself into that person.
I went from the guy that they were scared of to the guy that they trust most, because I shifted my focus. I shifted my focus to solve a bigger problem.
Right.
The problem I was solving before was fixing these end users' little problems. And now I'm fixing the CPA's problem.
Right.
And the CPA's problem are much bigger, and no one else is fixing the CPA problem. So I have no competition when I go in and help the CPA fix their problem. And when I do that, I build a relationship. When I build a relationship, I build trust. And part of that is value. And then part of the residual is I get to work on the biggest problems, biggest clients of that CPA. And I get to monetize those for myself, for the CPA. And no one else is doing it.
Right.
And that's why there's a big smile on my face. And that's why, and because I can't work with every CPA in the country or even 1% of them, I'm happy to share this model. I'm happy to give back. Anthony asked me to do this. He's changed my life. I'm more than happy to help him out and share his message with the advisor community.
Well, you're right. You can't solve the problem that the CPAs have if you don't know what the problem is. And Anthony Lombardi has invested 19 years of his life in figuring out what those problems are, how to address them, how to be that one person that the CPA can trust. As you brought up earlier, he's been featured in Accounting Web, Accounting Today, Think Advisor, Financial Advisor Magazine. These types of publications are not investing time with Anthony if he doesn't know what he's talking about. So You know, in closing, because we want to be respectful of your time, Alex, you've already given us more time than you probably spent on being in the office today. I know you got other stuff to do, so we really appreciate that. If what Alex has been talking about today, if what we've discussed has resonated with you, if it intrigues you, if it appeals to you, if this is the type of practice that you got in the business to build years ago and somehow it's gotten away from you, and now you're on that treadmill and you've got hundreds of clients, and you're making some money, but you have no time, and you don't even have time to step off the treadmill and look at something better, we want to give you that opportunity. If you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, if you're interested in taking a look at how you can build a model and a practice that Alex has just described with you, then you need to invest 2.5 days, September 28, 29, and 30 here in Carlsbad, California. The information's on the screen. Again, contact Jeff Perry, 760-330-3115. Shoot him an email at jperry@lombardibootcamp.com. He can give you all the information on how you can participate. This should be the last thing that you ever need to do. If you're tired of looking around, if you're tired of getting on webinars, if you're tired of, searching for things and having frustration, this should be the last thing you ever need to do to build the practice that you truly want to create. So I would encourage you to make that investment in yourself. See how you can create a business worth having, leading to a life worth living. Alex, thank you again so much for being with us. I don't know if you have any questions, but we'll open it up for questions. If not, thank you all for your time. I encourage you to contact us, get some more information, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great week, great weekend.